Wabi-Sabi is a traditional Japanese aesthetic and philosophical concept that finds beauty in perfection, impermanence, and the natural cycle of life. It celebrates simplicity, authenticity, and the transient nature of existence, valuing the weathered, aged, and incomplete as marks of unique character and history. Wabi-Sabi encourages mindfulness, introspection, and an appreciation for the understated and the imperfect. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. Wabi-Sabi can incorporate into your photography two ways. Either your state of mind or it shows into your images. And that's slightly two different things, and I will explain later what it means. And those who live in the Nordics know what Hygge is and know what Lagom is. The other one is from Denmark, I think, and the other one is from Sweden. It has similar characteristics, even though there are some major differences when it comes to the surroundings, but the philosophy is quite similar. And let's get to the first one, how you can incorporate Wabi-Sabi in your photography. And the first one is highlight the passage of time. You can capture moments that tell us stories about stuff that are aging, weathered buildings, old buildings, and find the beauty in the not so beautiful. And I think that's something that we all should embrace a lot more. We tend to photograph only beautiful things, but what is beautiful? Can an old, weird, not restored building be beautiful? I think it can. It all depends on your state of mind and how you see the world. If we only see the shiny and new as beautiful, then I think we're missing something. Those can be beautiful too. But I think some rustic things are also or can be beautiful. It depends, of course, how it looks. And then the second one is look for fleeting moments. Making images through glass, which has some water on it, can be a very simplistic image and can tell us something about the current situation or the current state of weather, state of things. And I've always said that a bad weather is a good weather to photograph because many of us like to photograph when it's really sunny and nice and everything is beautiful. But I think a bad weather can be a lot more a meaningful image. It tells a lot more and it shows reflections and it shows much more things. It makes the thing more real. I'm not saying that sunshine is not real. That's also real. But also rain and bad weather and bad conditions. That's also very real. That tells a lot more if you also photographing bad weather. That's what I usually try to go out when it's bad, if I have the chance. Because it, at least for me, it is very inspiring to photograph in bad weather. And there are so many more elements. The changing light in a bad weather and the shadows look different. And of course, different types of light is also very interesting and doesn't have to be always the beautiful blue hour or beautiful sunset or something like that. It can be something else, but of course, the light and the shadows gets more interesting when the sun is very low. And that's very good here in the north that we have that possibility to photograph in different lighting conditions because of the different seasons and the height of the sun. Because in the wintertime it's very low and in the summertime it's very high. So there's a lot of variety in that and a lot of different types of beauty, which we should all embrace. We talked about light, which the next point is about that light. Use natural light to enhance mood. I was talking about the height of the light, but also the character of the light is different. Reflecting light, straight light through a cloud or cloudy sky, which I always call when it's really overcast weather. That's the biggest softbox in the world when you have the sun behind or sun behind the clouds in an overcast weather. And that can affect really a lot how we feel the image. And the same goes with the warmth of the light, of the temperature of the light. We have really blue light, then we might have really warm light, and all that can make a totally different mood. And it doesn't matter what the mood is. It's just for you to understand what different types of light temperature actually means and does to the image and the mood of the image. So we're all talking about the mood here, and that's and what that is for you is of course different than it might be for me. What we find to be beauty in the decay, what I will come to a little bit later. So think about the light. That's really important. And focus on texture and detail. This is always something that we should do, even though we don't kind of think Wabi-Sabi in a bigger and broader sense. Concentrate on texture and detail, because that gives a lot more stories. We might have a crack on the pavement, we might have rusty gates, moss-covered bricks and all that. Embrace that. The mundane thing that is an everyday object that is probably not in its best shape is a great motive or subject for a photograph. And if there are any flaws, that is something that Wabi-Sabi celebrates because it's authentic. And that's, I think the word authentic is something that is in the core of Wabi-Sabi. So, because in photography, we too many times try to polish things and make them look as it's best. When we're making interior shots, we clean everything up. Why? Why not just take the photograph as it is on your everyday surroundings? Just take that photograph and embrace all the flaws that there are. Embrace imperfections in your frame. And this one was in the previous example where I was talking about the flaws and the details, that all that kind of stuff. But this is also something that embrace the almost perfect composition. Don't try to make totally clean, perfect image, perfect composition. Try to break that with something. Make it a little bit off. Don't make totally symmetrical. Break it with something. If you use rule of thirds, break that slightly. Golden ratio, break that slightly to make the image more interesting. There's more tension to it with the flaws. I have a video called The Batman's Cat, and I have a colleague and a friend, a photographer, who always says that every image needs a Batman's cat. And you can watch it from there, what the Batman's cat mean. Well, in short, it means that there should be something distracting in the photograph to make it more authentic, to have a little mistake in your images. So don't try to go for the perfect image. Have something that is a little bit off and distracting. It makes the image a lot more interesting. I'm not totally sure if this is in the core of Wabi-Sabi, but that is something that I interpret that it is, because I just found Wabi-Sabi in a comment in my videos. Unfortunately, I can't find the comment. If I have, I will put it there if I found it after I record this. And it got me thinking, and a reason to make this video, because I've made videos about embracing mistakes before, and I will link one of those videos in the description of this video for you to watch some more. What do you think about the composition, for example? How do you find? Do you try to go for the perfect composition, which is, to be honest, a little bit of cliche, but it's a good starting point? Are you trying to break your perfect composition to be something a little bit off to make the image more interesting? Now I'm leading you a little bit with my opinion, but if you have a different opinion, please let us know in the comments down below, or if you agree with me. And then the sixth thing is capture solitude and quietness. Very calm images with misty weather and all that type of thing is something that also Wabi-Sabi is very close to, or the idea. And that's also the common thing with Hygge and Lagom, which I was talking about earlier, with a small little difference, which I will get into later. It just is part of the whole thing, to show the calmness and show the solitude around you. And even in a busy city, you can do that by having really long shutter speed where everything kind of disappears and only slight color patches or moving things can be shown. And that can make the whole busy street also, look quiet and still. And, besides that, it might be a very visually pleasing image. And before we get into the seventh one, I will have an extra tip. And then the seventh one, which is very close to this one, is try minimalism. This is, showing the solitude and quietness using minimalistic approach with big amounts of negative space in an image and have a calm image. And I have several videos about minimalism, and I will also put the links in the description in this video about minimalistic approach. But then what is the difference between the photographs being Wabi-Sabi and your approach being Wabi-Sabi? They can be the same thing, but sometimes a very busy image that has nothing to do with calmness or quietness can be a Wabi-Sabi image, in my opinion, if your approach is taking it easy, not stressing too much about your photography, enjoy the moment of photography. And that also is very important part. But if you can combine these two, and I think you're into something. So we can differ the images that are, calm and still and solitude, and then our approach, the way we photograph and approach the idea of making those images. We can make really busy images, but we can still be very calm. This is just one suggestion, and I'm not an expert in Wabi-Sabi, far from it. This is something interesting that I've been researching lately, because photographers are funny, and people in general are funny. We want to categorize things and put them in the box, and okay, this is this and this is that, and that's also a little bit, I think, off from Wabi-Sabi. We should be, mixing things and not putting things in the box. But, making things structure, I think, is something that many of us do. And before we get into the extra tip, a few words about Wabi-Sabi, Hygge and Lagom. What's similar and what's different? The similar thing is that the approach is kind of calm and easy. We try to enjoy ourselves and have a solitude moment and all that. But in Hygge and Lagom, everything should be perfect. The interior design and everything is just, nice and beautiful, and the real kind of like the Scandinavian minimalism and all that. But in Wabi-Sabi, there can be distractions. We can go over those, kind of like in my mind, our distractions. The mess in the house doesn't affect our calmness and relaxation, and there can be flaws in our lives, and we can still kind of like enjoy it. And that's the same with photography, that we can. But in Hygge and Lagom, everything should be nice and tidy and beautiful. But the similarity is the enjoyment. I hope this makes some sense. And the extra tip is tell stories through decay. This is something that I've done quite a bit, is to photograph something that's not perfect, something that is mundane, and there's a beauty in decay. That is what my video when I was in London. Our hotel was in the city, which was really pretty clean and nice, and everything is quite new, high rises and stuff. But to be honest, I enjoyed my photography in the Brick Lane area and the Shoreditch a lot more, because there was the authenticity in a way that everything wasn't perfect. There were some cracks on the walls and graffitis, murals, and stuff like that. For me, it is more photogenic than something that is clean and basic. Of course, you can get really nice images and really Wabi-Sabi images in a modern environment too, if you think that way. But for some reason, it doesn't embrace the flaws that much, like Wabi-Sabi should. I don't know, what do you think about the approach? I'm not saying that we should do that, but it is something to think about. And I especially like to experiment with different types of philosophies in photography, just to learn more. But it's just a kind of like a side route, and I usually go back to my normal doings. But I always get something from those philosophies and ideas that I kind of like research or think about, because it's photography is a constant learning thing, and if we stop learning, I think we will stop progressing as a photographers. So I hope you have learned something, and this have brought some ideas into your head for your next photo walk. And here is a video about minimalistic approach in street photography, which could be pretty close to Wabi-Sabi. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.